Hey, Earl, today's podcast is brought to us by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/comedy podcast network.
That's Mr. Hepner to you, Mr. Scott Narver.
Oh, hey, I'm sorry, Earl Hebner. Look, it's free audiobook. You know, you seem like a man that likes to read.
I don't like to read.
You don't like to read?
I like listening to things. I have this little thing in my ear, and people tell me what to do.
Oh, well, hey, you can make your own decisions, you know. You can count to 3, you can count to 10, you can listen to books to however you want to.
I screw people.
You screw people.
People tell me to screw people, and I screw them.
Well, you get a free audiobook, Earl. The beauty is that you don't have to read anymore.
Are you telling me there's a book out there that's going to tell me to screw things? What's a possible book that could ever tell me to screw things?
A possible book that could ever tell you 50 Shades of Grey.
I'm sorry?
50 Shades of Grey.
What is that?
See, you're a referee who believes in black and white. That's what you wear. That you just see everything in a black and white sort of
wear
setting.
these stripes because it's what I believe.
Yeah, there's no shades of gray. Let me tell you, Earl, there's 50 Shades of Grey out there.
Are you telling me we live in a multi-tiered world where there's no such things as black and white, but just an ever-changing shade between?
No. E.L. James is telling you that.
Oh.
And I wouldn't even, I'm not going to read it to you. I'm not going to read you the book. You're not even going to read it yourself. You can get a free audiobook download of 50 Shades of Grey, Book 1 or Book 2. Doesn't matter where you start.
What can I listen to it on?
Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/comedy podcast network. You can have those, and there's over 100,000 titles to choose from, Earl. Think of how many shades of gray that is.
That's more than 50.
It is more than 50.
That's a lot.
If you don't get it, you're screwing yourself. Then it's Earl screwed Earl.
Story of my life.
Hey guys, it's Steve, and this is a very special episode of Curtain Jerks today. Scott Narver is out of town, and I will be talking today with Phil Ranta, head of the Comedy Podcast Network. This is the pre-taped intro because I realized there wasn't nearly enough information given in the entirety of the episode. We do some funny stuff, and then we end up talking about net neutrality for a while near the end, so it's going to be completely different than what you guys are used to. Relax, we still do jerk tweets, everything's fine. Here's the episode, I'll see you at the end for the outro. Hey, welcome to Curtain Jerks on the Comedy Podcast Network. I'm Steve Sears, and we have a very special guest today on the podcast. Special new media correspondent Phil Ranta and CEO of the Comedy Podcast Network, Phil Ranta.
Hey, I said my name twice.
Yeah, I forgot that I said it the first time.
It's a good thing there's two of me now.
Yeah, now that there's both of you.
Yeah, it's good. Hey, I'm the new media expert over here.
Good to meet you, Phil.
I'm the CEO of the Comedy Podcast Network over here.
Thank you very much for having you both on the show.
The CEO has a slightly deeper voice.
Yes, it's because it's the authority. It's the authority coming through.
Oh, it's the authority? Like the authority?
Oh, wow. What an excellent wrestling reference.
I know, right?
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Phils.
It's good for both of us to be here.
Yeah, I think it's very good for your brand.
I miss Scott.
Scott is currently on a special assignment in the UK for realsies. Found out recently that he was drinking, which is really funny.
And tweeting a storm.
Yeah, he's been tweeting up a storm. Scott doesn't drink. Apparently he tweets.
Yeah.
I've just recently learned we have a Twitter page called @CurtainJerks on Twitter. Tell him Curtain Jerks sent you.
2 @Curtain Jerks?
2 @Curtain Jerks.
Curtain Jerks sent me to you.
Yes.
You.
I'm here to read it.
Yeah.
Not much of a game plan today. I'm sure everybody's expecting me to really fuck up the podcast. Don't worry. I'm feeling really confident.
I'm kind of half expecting it.
Yeah,
a little bit.
I noticed you were wearing a lot of protective gear today. Got your knee pads on. You're wearing a pillowcase underneath your shirt.
Got my riot shield.
Yeah, you're ready.
Just in case.
You're ready for you're like a kid who's ready to go down the top of a roof on his what is it called? What's the wagon called? The radio flyer.
The radio, yeah.
But you're also ready for the zombie apocalypse. That's why you got your riot.
Right. I'm like, I just watched Jackass, and this is going to be fun.
Yeah. Clatter,
Clatter, clatter, dead.
Well, we're comedians living in Los Angeles, and this is a comedy wrestling podcast. If you want to get real serious news, check the internet. I'm sure we're probably going to reference it at some point.
But wait, doesn't the show live on the internet too?
It does live on the internet. It's very...
So wait, is this serious news then?
Well, this is a self-hating podcast.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
It's not well informed.
It's like WTF.
Yeah,
You'd
what
be
the
like,
what
I
the
hate
fuck?
my life, and God, everything's terrible.
I've listened to one Mark Maron podcast.
Really?
Yeah, and I love that he does almost, 20 minutes of just him talking before he even gets to his guest.
Depending on what kind of mood he's in, sometimes he just chats.
Yeah, the one that I listened to, he was talking about how he was in Seattle. He was describing the room he was in like Seattle. I think it was the Gallagher one.
Oh, yeah.
And he's talking about how people just gave him weed and he's hanging out in this hotel room.
Right.
And then he does the Gallagher interview.
Very little talk about wrestling on that podcast.
Very little.
Shockingly little.
Shockingly little. In fact, I think Mark Maron, if ever was to talk about wrestling, probably would besmirch it a little bit.
He might. He besmirches a lot, so
Yeah.
I think he'd besmirch wrestling.
I imagine he would not be a very, he would not be very kind to wrestling.
Right. That is absolutely true. But... Sorry, I just adjusted your mic. I'm a consummate producer, and the actual mic was facing away from your mouth, so I turned it so it was facing
Okay, so
towards
like
your
this,
mouth.
like this.
There we go.
Is this better? Is
Now
this better,
nope,
Phil?
I can't hear you.
How about this? Is this
I
better?
can't hear you. I have to constantly be tweaking.
Now, I should give a little history about Phil Ranta. He was the original technical producer on this podcast.
I did. I listened to like the first 90 episodes live.
That's true. And then recently he just trained me to do the podcast, which is probably why you've noticed the audio quality is really
just
dipped
dropped
lately.
just a little bit, but that's okay.
Yeah, a lot more sound effects, a lot poorer audio quality in general.
Right. I like the Zoo Crew morning drops that you have in it now.
You know what? I've been pushing for Scott for us to do a morning show, like
Yeah.
a Curtain Jerks radio show.
Yeah.
I don't think I have the energy to sustain it for more than 15 minutes.
Can you imagine if WWE launched their own like Zoo Crew morning show?
Well, speaking of launches, actually, Phil, that's a really good idea that you brought it up because it goes perfectly into the topic about what I want to talk about.
Okay, so
today.
you don't want to answer my question.
No,
Can
no,
you
no.
imagine? No, it's
I
not.
want to
You want to talk about something else.
dismiss what
That's
you
fine.
just brought up
That's
so
cool.
I can talk about this other thing.
Consummate improviser.
Thank you. No.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
No, but tell me more. No, just ask you questions and then you'll tell me everything I need to know. I think it would be funny if WWE already has a morning Zoo Crew show. It's called Raw. It happens all the time.
look out.
Yeah, Raw is recap, everybody.
Yeah.
I didn't watch Raw this week. Did you watch Raw?
No, I don't think I did. Usually I watch it with you, so you would know.
Yeah, we watched American Horror Story instead of Raw.
Oh, that was
American
almost
Horror,
as scary as
guys,
Raw.
American Horror Story was so good.
Yeah,
on
season 2.
Yeah, on Netflix this week. American Horror Story was so good.
If you could go back in time 3 years ago and watch it at the same time that we're watching it, oh man, we'd have so much to talk
Oh
about.
man, it's a good show. Plenty of nudity, plenty of gore too.
Right.
Really good show.
Yeah, naked butts. It's on cable, so no naked boobs, just
Yeah,
naked
just lots
butts.
of naked butts.
Yeah.
Side boob. You got some
No,
side boob.
none of the downstairs silly parts either. It's
No.
just the butts.
That's the problem is whenever you see nudity, you know that something horrific's going to happen, like genital mutilation, or somebody's going to be like psychologically broken within the next 6 minutes.
I hope so.
I feel like that's the time period. As soon as you see nudity in American Horror Story, something terrible is going to happen almost immediately.
Yeah.
Check it out. Available on Netflix.
And not just them going, oh, there's a camera in the room. Oh, scandal.
Speaking of which. But we did both watch the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
you
did.
saw it live. I saw it on tape.
Right. Separately, we watch it. It's weird that you busted out the VHS so that you can watch it on tape. That's pretty impressive.
I downloaded it illegally, put it on VHS, and then watched it at a thrift
Right.
store.
Digitize it on VHS and then go dust off your VHS, pop it in.
I'm a big fan of digital artifacting.
You like the scan lines.
Yeah, digital artifacting is the new snow on TV. So,
Yeah.
what was your experience watching Royal Rumble?
So I watch the Royal Rumble every year and have been for many years.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, Mark Maron.
I just wanted to do my radio voice. Okay. All right.
I love that, like the NPR show where they just did a bunch of cocaine.
Yeah. Tell me more.
Okay. Yeah.
Handsome Dan and
This
Wayne-
morning
and
becomes
Wayne
eclectic.
Froze. Yeah. You know, in This American Life, I think you're going to notice that this guy really froze people. Oh, God, I told you the end already.
No, my Royal Rumble experience, I watch it with my same group of friends, all film school people.
Michigan State?
University of Michigan.
Not Michigan State.
No, there are rivals. One of the many.
Boo MS.
Yeah.
Yay, lupus.
There we go. Yay, lupus. But we watch it every year. We gamble on it. And it's a good mix of between wrestling fans and not wrestling fans.
What would you consider yourself?
I consider myself like a B- wrestling fan.
Okay.
I enjoy it. I know what plot lines are going on. I love watching it, but if I
almost-
miss it, I don't like stress out.
I almost introduced you as the wrestling outsider, Phil Ranta.
Probably comparatively, I am, but
No, I think you're a day walker. I think you can walk in both.
I am. Yes, I'm a day walker.
Yeah.
But yeah, we draw numbers 1 through 30 out of a hat. We put down money on it, and then we get whatever wrestler corresponds in terms of when they come out, and whoever wins the whole pot. So whether you're a wrestling fan or not wrestling fan, it's fun because you get to cheer and you get to I got JBL, which I did.
Oh, sorry about that.
Nope, it's no problem.
It wasn't the shortest elimination by any stretch, but they really went for it.
Yeah.
What's the initial buy-in?
The initial buy-in's $5, and then there was 15 people there gambling. So then you could choose to buy a second one for $5. Needless to say, I bought in right away.
Okay, who was the lucky guy who took the pot when Batista won? Spoiler alert, Batista won the Royal Rumble for 2014.
Yeah, there we go. This guy named Chris. Chris won.
Cool guy, Chris?
Yeah, he's not a huge wrestling fan, but he was very happy to win.
That's always great when the non-wrestling fan takes the pot.
It happens
I
almost
hardly
every year.
ever play poker. I don't even know the rules.
I never win anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, he was happy about it. I was, what are you going to do?
I'd watch someone else win, I imagine.
Right.
I suppose Scott would probably want me to talk about the matches that were at the Royal Rumble.
You know what everybody was talking about, though?
What's that?
El Torito.
Oh, the tiny wrestler.
Right. I don't think his name is really El Torito. That's a Mexican restaurant in Los Angeles.
No, it's actually El Torito.
Is it?
It's the tiny bull. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting if it's El Torino or El Torito.
Torino was a Mexican restaurant on Hoover in downtown, which had a delightful tacos and burritos.
So everyone check that out.
Yeah, it's actually closed.
Well, you're in your time machine because you went and saw American Horror Story.
And you went back to go to mid-1990s burrito shop. Also, El Torito is actually a higher-end Mexican food restaurant in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
There's the El Torito, which is like your Chevys or your Chiles.
Right.
Or your Apple Blaze.
Yeah.
Or your Outbaques. Outbaques. And then El Torito Grill is like it's like the Chipotle of the McDonald's world.
Right, exactly. Do you think that El Torito was sponsored by the restaurant?
I'm surprised that they don't do more sponsoring in wrestling.
Yeah.
I feel like they always do it. They always keep it outside of the ring. Brock Lesnar is the only guy who actually takes sponsors into the ring.
The old Jimmy John's.
Yeah, the Jimmy John's, which I always think is a beef jerky company, and then Jack Link's, which I always think is a sandwich company.
Whoa, your brain got scrambled somewhere.
I'm super scrambled.
Just like that woman from American Horror Story season 2 when she got the electrodes on her head.
Oh yeah, because she was a lesbian.
Yeah.
Great
it's
show.
Kind of the same thing. Great show.
Great show.
But we're not here to talk about American Horror Story.
We're
here to talk about the Royal Rumble.
That's right.
But did you believe what happened on American Horror Story?
It was terrible. And I'm
mind-blowing.
so freaked to figure out what's
going on. And the aliens.
And then there's the mutants out in the forest.
The little chip that was under the guy's skin that turns into a bug.
A little spider?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Little robo-bug.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert ahoy for American Horror Story.
But regardless, he was, I thought that he was pure joy and light. I enjoyed when he came in and everyone was like,
Torito?
Yeah, everyone thought it was like a gag, like, oh, look at this ridiculous dude. And then he came in and whooped some butt.
Did he? I was about to say, did he execute somebody? Did he eliminate anyone?
He did. He eliminated one. I forget who he eliminated, but he flipped someone out of the ring.
He did like a Hurricane Rana and he got the person pulled out.
Yeah, totally.
CM Punk really kicked his ass pretty bad too, and then he got Hurricane Rana.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All in all, I like this Royal Rumble. I like you're always waiting for the Royal Rumble match, and I think it's my favorite because it's the most pandemonium. It's the craziest, and it looks like people are really trying to do the most with it.
Oh, it's my favorite too. I'm a fan of spectacle, if nothing else, and the fact that there's just a bunch of people swinging at each other at once. Oh, I love it.
Did you like Brock Lesnar and Big Show?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
You know what's funny?
It's fine.
As I had this feeling that. I'm sure you're aware of it. You've probably heard me and Scott talking about it. But Brock Lesnar only does certain dates. Yeah. And he's only on TV a few times, and then he builds up to a big pay-per-view. Brock Lesnar and Big Show was one of those, whenever he wrestles, it's a big deal.
Right.
And I think what was kind of funny about it was that it felt like it was just a stepping stone to keep Brock Lesnar kind of busy. Like, they sort of wanted to burn some dates. Because it was a very short match. It wasn't incredibly long. It was cool. But it wasn't, you don't immediately think, oh, Big Show and Brock Lesnar. I mean, they're both really tall, but it's not, Big Show's not as charismatic as Brock Lesnar is scary.
That's the thing, is it was fine. I generally like the more nimble guys. But yeah, I mean, it's good. It's fun to see a couple monsters duking it out.
Yeah,
no problem with that.
I love to see that great white shark out of its element going up against that Kodiak bear.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. That sounds like a new sci-fi original movie.
Bear versus shark?
Yeah. Or just Bear Shark, NATO.
Speaking of American Horror Story Season 2.
Oh, let's do.
You said at one point when there was these mutants in the forest, you said, oh man, look, watch out for the forest freaks. To which I immediately thought WWE's a new film, Forest Freak.
Right, or an awesome tag team.
Yeah, Forest Freaks?
Oh, wait, isn't that just the Wyatt brothers? Aren't they just the Forest Freaks?
Wyatt brothers.
Huh?
Is that
the
Wyatt
Wyatts, sorry.
family?
They're brothers.
Yeah, but they're brothers.
Yeah.
They're brothers in faith.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think you're absolutely right.
That's what gives me a B-, because I call the Wyatt family the Wyatt brothers.
You know what? It comes from such a pure place of just honor and like utter jubilation that I'm not gonna criticize
Thank
you
you,
for it.
Steve.
You're welcome. But I imagine the forest freaks would be guys in like ghillie suits, sort of looking like really furry, like
Right.
swamp monsters.
That would be if you want to make them a heel, that's the way to do it. Like, we're wearing ghillie suits.
Yeah, they would look like live action versions of Scooby-Doo monsters.
Right, or like a rejected costume from Mario Brothers 3.
Exactly. And I think that wrestling has such a history of tassels on shirts and pants and belts and stuff that if you just had long ghillie suits and guys that would sort of slink around, people would get a kick out of it.
Like their deal is that they're a bunch of people who like live their life in duck blinds and they wear camouflage, and then there's like bushes on the outside of the ring they stick in, and then they blend in with it, so people are like, oh, where'd they go?
That would be their own version of the lumberjack match.
Yeah,
that
totally.
Instead of an Inferno match, they'd have a duck blind match. And
Yeah.
you don't know how many wrestlers there are, and they're hiding in the duck blinds.
That's my dream.
Duck blinds.
Duck blinds. Yeah,
Is that
duck blinds.
That's what it's. That's what the camouflage is.
Yeah.
The setup. I don't watch Duck Dynasty.
Oh, it's not duck. That's just a comment. That's just a knowledge.
Okay.
That's just knowledge.
I should also say, if it was World's Deadliest Catch, I'd be like, I don't watch commercial crab fishing. I'm only about independent crab
Right.
fishing. Yeah.
I'm kind of a crab fishing hipster.
Yeah, I liked crab fishing before it was cool. I
Yeah.
liked crab fishing before people ate crab.
Yeah.
Okay?
You know, like before Bible times where they mention shellfish a lot.
Yeah, where you weren't supposed to eat it.
Yeah.
So get ready.
So get ready.
Get ready. Speaking of getting ready, come February is the launch of the WWE
Wait,
Network.
before we launch into that, you never said what you thought of the Royal Rumble.
Oh,
You asked me. It was a one-way
mystery.
interview.
I'm a mystery.
Wrapped
I
into
know.
it.
I liked it.
Good.
I liked it
What
a
was
lot.
your favorite person that came out?
Uh,
Did you like Kofi Kingston?
you know what was really great? I don't know if you noticed it, but the crowd really turned on Batista at the end, and everyone was really liking Roman Reigns sort of being the final guy.
I agree. I liked it too.
And like, I'm sure there was a video online where people were complaining about Batista winning, and Roman Reigns, like, that's such, even if Roman Reigns doesn't win the Royal Rumble, people are going to, like, everybody backstage was like, wow, Roman Reigns is really hot right now. The crowd was going fucking crazy for Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Even if Batista goes forward, they know they've already taken the temperature of the WWE universe.
Yeah, I think that the Shield, in terms of non-funny gimmicks, is probably my favorite gimmick in a long time.
I agree.
Like techno, kind of cyber-punky flak jacket badasses.
Yeah.
Like, I wish they did more video packages around them before. Because remember when they did the video packages that all looked like the video from The Ring? Where it had all the flashes, but also was like, we're inside, we're everywhere. So they like played up the hacker thing in a big
There
way.
was something very subversive about that.
Yeah, they were like anonymous, right? I love that stuff, and I'm kind of sad that they just kind of made them like general bad guys.
Well,
come
now
out
they have
the
a
crowd.
T-shirt with the Hounds of Justice, and they have a
Right.
tagline. And before it was like, there's always that element of like, ooh, what's going on? This is kind of, I don't know where they stand. They're bad guys, but they're cool bad guys.
Right, I like them, and they were like this unstoppable force, and now I want to see them flourish.
Well, that first triple tag team I think they did at WrestleMania a while back, which they decisively won. I think
Yeah.
it was Sheamus and John Cena and someone else. I should probably remember because I'm a wrestling fan.
Yeah,
and
more
I
of a
was-
B minus. So I don't know.
Yeah, but more of a being honest.
I don't mean to brag, but I'm kind of a B minus.
Yeah, I should point out I'm the color commentator on this show.
Oh wait, I'm the voice of
you're the voice-
full understanding and reason.
Yeah, I think so. No,
in trouble.
I should be. By the way, guys, Scott is on assignment. Which I
Yeah.
already said. I'm hosting today.
Oh yeah, and I'm I guess I'm co-hosting today.
Yeah,
or
you
guesting.
are. That's
or...
why it's a back and forth. It's a
Yeah.
conversation. You notice how there's no dead air. We're just talking until
Right,
the
it's
film
just-
space.
we gotta fill time, man.
I
Gotta fill
can't
time.
stop talking.
That's not true. We're doing it all for you.
Yeah. And oh, really? You're just talking to keep up with me? Or
No, I'm doing it all. I was talking to the home listener.
Oh yeah, that's right. We're keeping it no dead air because that way you don't glaze off when you're trapped in traffic and
Right.
you're driving.
But yeah, I think there was a lot of interesting matches. I felt like the lead up to the Royal Rumble was actually really strong. I like that they had a lot of heel victories.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really cool move because it kind of like going into the Rumble, everyone just watched 4 heels in a row win. and they were just like, it was exhausting.
It was exhausting because it was an element of disappointment, and I think a lot of smarter fans are always thinking about, well, what is that going to do for the storylines?
Right.
And then you get to see that pandemonium of the Royal Rumble, which I think is always
like
great.
Bray Wyatt winning. Oh my God.
It was unexpected.
I was like, if there was ever a lock for the Royal Rumble, I was like, it's an absolute lock that Daniel Bryan will win that because they have to end that plot line. The hypnotism thing didn't really work. The way that they got out of it, where they were like, I was faking it, made no sense.
You were not a fan of that. I thought it was cool that Daniel Bryan turned on the people that he turned on.
If he wasn't really hypnotized that whole time, why'd they let him beat him up all that time?
He wasn't hypnotized. He was never hypnotized.
I know, but then why did he play along for so long?
Incredible self-discipline.
No, there could have been one time where he was just like, oh, I'm hypnotized. And then as soon as they started trying to attack him, break all of their arms.
I don't know where this hypnotism bit came from. He was never hypnotized.
Yeah, he was
joined them of his own accord.
Then how come that he let them beat him up after each time? There was some sort of mind control.
Incredible self-discipline.
Because like Bray Wyatt was doing a lot of that, like, oh look, he's my slave now.
He's
kind
very
of stuff.
charismatic.
I don't. Well, maybe it's more like Charles Manson cult leader type thing.
Yeah.
But still, it's like he shouldn't have played along that long if the point he wanted to get across was, I wanted to show that you had no power. That's bull, because they did have power because they were allowed. They were able to beat him up so many times.
Would you have liked it in terms of storytelling? You're a writer. You have a good understanding of hero mythology. Would you have thought it'd been more interesting had Daniel Bryan eventually became disillusioned within the Wyatt family and then went rogue, opposed to having a plan all along?
I would have, instead of being with the Wyatt family, he would have been with Los Matadores. And they would have convinced him to become their new El Torito. And then El Torito would have had wanted to get vengeance on him.
Which would have led to a match at the Royal Rumble?
Would have led to a match at the Royal Rumble where El Torito is so tiny and nimble that he was able to trick. It was like a David and Goliath story.
Well, that's... I always like matches that have the stipulation where it's sort of more of an official stipulation than just a grudge match. So it would have been El Torito versus Daniel Bryan for the title of El Torito.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Which would have been pretty great.
Would Daniel Bryan have been wearing full luchador gear with the horns, but his beard's coming out?
I think he'd have to.
I think you're absolutely right.
That's the thing is I feel like if they were going to go for kind of a strange and kind of not really funny, but kind of strange angle like they did, they should just go all out and either decide to make it really tragic or really funny.
And you thought that they dropped the ball on the Wyatt family angle with Bryan because it was not far enough in either direction?
Well, first of all, just in terms of plot, it didn't make sense. Like, his justification, Daniel Bryan's justification, made no sense.
Well, you heard it here first from B- wrestling fan
This
Phil
is
Ranta.
another B- commentary from Phil Ranta, the sometimes wrestling fan.
I like if the slogan for that was B- is still passing.
B-, that's pretty good at Harvard.
Well, Phil, I had you on the show today because, one, I didn't book any other guests, and two,
Thank you.
I wanted
It's good to be here.
I wanted your critical analysis
Yes.
of the WWE Network, which is going to be launching soon. You are a new media expert. You've been in the game for a very long time, and I'm curious, what are the things that WWE Network has to avoid so it's not a giant fucking clusterfuck?
Well, first I'll run down my credentials so that people know that's legit. When I'm at work all day, I sit and talk about things like the WWE app. And I talk about
WWE Network.
Network, yes.
WWE app is completely
But mobile
different.
first experience, right?
Yeah.
So it's still going to be an app, but it's an app called the WWE Network.
Yes.
But regardless, the WWE Network is, as with most things that big companies are launching like WWE, it's pretty progressive because what they're saying is we're actually going to cut prices for the return of more engagement, right?
I believe so. I think that you have more access to their library, and you also will be able to comment more on it, I believe.
It kind of reminds me of like you get you buy a day at Disney and you get a year free.
Yeah.
That the whole thing they do?
I think so.
Because what their point is usually people go once and go, that was fun, and not come back. But then they're paying for you to continue engaging with the park and spend more money there, right?
I believe, but I have a feeling, I'm pretty sure that one of the engagements is, imagine if you could leave YouTube comments on Space Mountain.
Yes.
I think they're adding a comment feature to a lot of their things so they can sort of track people's, not just what people are viewing, because they're going to have their own analytics, because it's their app, it's their network. They're going to know what people are watching, what people are searching for. Mm-hmm. I think they're also going to have an interactivity where either it's a chat room or people are going to leave, they're going to be able to grade things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what kind of interactivity they'll have, but considering the success of hashtags on WWE, they would be fools not to make it a social first experience, which means you're watching the window, but the entire time they have a feed of what tweets are going on, and you're able to join in on the conversation directly through the app. If they don't have that, that's going to be a huge missed opportunity.
Well, I think, isn't there an issue with that if you have any sort of gaming console, which I feel like a lot of these apps are going to be on because people are going to want another TV. I feel like interactivity through consoles is really limited because you don't have a keyboard.
Well, that's the great thing, though, is most people of especially the connected or millennial generation, the entire time they're watching TV, they're tweeting anyways, right?
So they've their keyboard and their message service is their phones.
Right, but I've connected my, say, PlayStation 4, I've connected it with my Facebook.
Oh, right. So the profile is LinkedIn.
Right, so it's not like I'm necessarily using Facebook through my PlayStation 4, but when I use Facebook, my PlayStation 4 knows it, and vice versa. When I'm using PlayStation 4, my Facebook knows it, right? If they're able to have that kind of experience where I'm watching this on this app, and then when I'm tweeting, it's engaging with what's on the screen, it's going to be huge, right?
Absolutely.
But ultimately, it's a discount if you're getting the pay-per-view, so it's a great deal for people at home. For people who are priced out of the previous model, where it's like freaking $60 per pay-per-view, now it's $10 a month. Maybe people who wouldn't have regularly gotten the pay-per-view, they might get it. And if they get it, they'll feel the pressure to actually use it, right? It's kind of like when you get Netflix and you go, well, I'm paying for it, so I'll just see what's on Netflix.
American Horror Story Season 2.
Season 2, it's great. It's still up there, right? Even though it's very old. I'm watching it for the first time. Feels new to me.
Have you been following anything at all about how net neutrality was being
Horror Story
net
2?
neutrality? Net neutrality.
Oh,
season
I thought
2,
we were going to
Asylum.
talk about
net neutrality.
I thought we were talking about American history.
Yeah,
American History X.
American History X. Yeah.
Also very good.
Yeah, very
See it
good.
on Netflix.
What are your feelings on that net neutrality ruling that the FCC sort of struck down?
I mean, it's tough because
I bring it up because if someone has the WWE network and they cancel cable or something along those lines, and they have a cap based on whatever their service provider is, and it's WrestleMania weekend, and you can't watch because you've already done 10 gigs and you've only got 2 left for whatever, you know?
Right. Let's say you spent $1,000 to get unlimited free ice cream for a week. And you go to Baskin Robbins every single day, and people see you getting the ice cream. They see you get the $1,000, right? Or they see you turn in your card, it's free. And people start getting wise, and they go, hey, Steve, why don't you you get some of that ice cream because I get to use it for free. And you go, okay. And then a bunch of people start using it from you. Eventually, you have to ask, is it fair that all of these people are getting it when I had to pay $1,000 for it?
Yeah.
That's kind of like the internet companies where, you know,
are they the ones who paid the $1,000 and getting the ice cream?
Right, because they're the ones, they had to build out the infrastructure in order to have the internet. They had to make the wiring. They had to do a lot of the big investment programmatic stuff in the early days. So you can't really blame them for trying to control it. How, on the other hand, internet is so kind of like ubiquitous and free and everywhere now.
I personally absolutely can blame them because of the culture that has been born from what they've sort of made without any involvement from there besides a sort of completely utility sort of like access for people.
Right.
They did not create the content. They did not create the communities by any means. AOL, it was not a cultural sort of gathering place, and it's not anymore. Everything else is sort of spread, and it's grown, and it's become this giant cultural entity. So anytime someone says, hey, by the way, guys, could really appreciate the money, like, now that it's become so much bigger than they ever possibly imagined, now it feels like they're stepping back in. It's like, hey, guys, don't forget who started all of this back in the day. And it's like, you never started this. All you did was
tough.
you laid the train tracks, and whoever brought the television or poetry from wherever across on a train, the train track, all they did was had that responsibility of the original sort of delivery system.
But I mean, the tough thing about that is, let's take Facebook for an example, right? So they built Facebook, but Facebook's really powered by social engagement, social
Each
interaction.
person
right?
who's a member makes
Everybody's
it what
creating
it is.
content. It's no different than creating video, right? I'm writing a post, people engage with that post. That's the reason why people go on it. So when they started running ads, everybody was like, oh, Facebook running ads. On the other hand, this is a company that was losing money hand over fist besides investment money, right? Like they needed to make money eventually somehow, right? I think the reason why the internet companies are getting such a bad rap, and don't get me wrong, like I do think that the internet should be free. I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit, but only because I feel like at this point ownership is shared by so many that it's, how can you track it back? It's a lot of people who are planning on getting money based on other people building the infrastructure, which is what I'm against. But eventually Facebook has to start monetizing, right? And it's the same way with the internet providers. It's like you have to eventually say, like, if we're not making enough money to survive, it's no longer the days of AOL where you have to pay by the minute. Eventually we have to find a way where we can survive too, where it's worth our money to build out the infrastructure.
Can you advocate that for either a change in prices or for maintaining the infrastructure without capping people's downloads or without anything that minimizes censorship? I think is what I'm arguing for.
Right.
And that's what the real issue with sort of net neutrality being sort of struck down is suddenly people, if Time Warner has a deal with WWE and they're like, hey, you know, we work together, so anybody's on Time Warner, you can get WWE, but not Spike TV, not Impact. It's sort of along those lines. Like, you can really limit what people see. And I agree with you. The infrastructure, like that I think they should be at least monetized for. They have to be, but it never feels like they're in danger.
Well, I mean, and it's true. Like, scarcity drives capitalism, right? The way to make sure that your company's doing better is by offering something unique that other companies don't. And ISPs don't have that anymore. Cable companies don't have that anymore. Everybody has the same garbage, right?
Yeah.
I say garbage, but I'm really a B- wrestling fan, so I don't mean garbage.
You mean just stuff.
Just stuff.
Everybody
just a
offers
glut of
everything.
Crap, right? Yeah. 999 channels you don't watch so that you can watch wrestling and Comedy Central. At least that's what I watch. And, you know, American Horror Story Season 2 Asylum. Yeah. Because that's a great show. But I watch it on Netflix. It's a really good show. But yeah, it's, I mean... Yeah.
Wait, I think I knew where you were headed with that. Is that along the lines of if you're offering unique content, American Horror Story Season 2 Asylum is only on Netflix.
Right.
And Amazon doesn't have it. Their video demand on doesn't. Hulu Plus doesn't have it.
Right.
So because Netflix has it, they're at a distinct advantage.
Right.
I think that sort of offering exclusivity is one sort of, it's an interesting way to go about it, but it's the idea that they would throttle someone else's show and you don't get to see it. Do you know what I mean?
I think that a la carte cable companies is going to be the way of the future.
What is that? I never know what a la carte means.
It means that you can kind of pick and choose what channels you want, and then it'll raise the price.
That's the nightmare. That's what's fucking scary about it. Is you want.
I don't think it is scary.
But if you go on your Xbox and you're like, hey, I've got the WWE Network app, I've got Hulu Plus, I've got Netflix, and whatever the fuck TNA has got, or Ring of Honor has an app or something, you get to pick those things. But I feel like the risk is not having the app be supported, not having the show, not having the content be supported, because Xbox is like, you know what? No. If you want that, then they have to strike a better deal with
Right,
us.
but the market will even itself out. God, I sound like such a freaking conservative. But it's true. Like, the market will even itself out. It's like, if you're not making enough money with an app, that app will go away. Mm-hmm. And if enough apps go away, people are going to start craving entertainment. If people start craving entertainment, then you're going to find a pricing model that works. Right? And it might not be the kind of content you can spend hundreds of millions of dollars against every year. But if you're creating good enough content, you certainly can, because enough people will buy it.
It always feels like chopping off someone's legs, like an American Horror Story Season 2.
Oh, so good. Spoiler alert.
At the risk of, it's saying, don't worry, the rest of the body will be strong. They'll just have to work out their upper body that much harder.
Right, and it will. The upper body will get stronger for that girl who gets her legs chopped off in American Horror Story 2. Season 2, not the sequel to the show. But yeah, it's difficult because you want to have everything all at once. And there's always going to be those people who have, like, you buy it here, you don't have to worry about it. It's kind of like phone and internet bundling, right? When they were doing that. It's like, we're a one-stop shop, and that's a value proposition in itself. For the really discerning fans of something, though, like, if I'm a fan of WWE, and that's where I spend most of my free time, then I'm going to get the WWE network, and then I'm done entertainment-wise, right? I want the same thing for the internet. I want the same thing for television, because I'm a really discerning viewer. I know I'm not going to watch certain channels. HGTV, I'm never going to turn to that channel. No reason. I don't care what they launch.
It's like the South Park episode where you can only get these channels if you bundle everything together.
Right, and then all the cable companies are rubbing their nipples.
Exactly.
It does feel like that, right? Because, I mean, ESPN is the driving force behind cable. I don't watch ESPN. It's where a lot of my money for my cable bill goes, and I'm not going to watch it. I would love to have half off my cable bill and never have an ESPN channel.
Absolutely. You're listening to Tech Touch, the tech that touches you on the Comedy Podcast Network.
This is a comedy wrestling podcast that we're talking about net neutrality in the most boring possible way.
Listeners, thank you for bearing with us. It's time for Jerk Tweets.
Yeah.
The tweets that jerk you.
Is that the new tagline for it? Because I like it.
I'm trying a lot of taglines this week. One of them being the Curtain Jerks, the show where we talk about tech stuff until everybody vomits out their eyes.
Yeah.
At GT2010, at Curtain Jerks, if you could pretend to be a Special Olympian to steal one Make-A-Wish, which wrestler would you wish to meet? If we were Special Olympians.
Like a kid with no legs?
Or I guess a really great gladiator. I don't know. It's up to you.
Okay.
Also, follow-up question. And would you tell the wrestler you were pretending to be a Special Olympian or not?
Oh, so I'm pretending.
Yes.
So I'm pretending to be a Special Olympian to meet a wrestler, and then would I be the guy that went like, hey, guess what? This is all bullshit. I'm actually just normie.
I suppose in the name of comedy and trivializing disabilities, we should probably pick the disability that we would have and which wrestler would come visit us.
Okay.
And what our wish would be. You know, what the day is, what we'd like to do.
Okay. Here's what I want to do, all right?
Okay.
My wish is that I'm horribly agoraphobic, or the reason
your
why.
wish.
Right, my wish.
Phil, I said imagine.
Don't open that door. No, I would say that I'm horribly agoraphobic, and I'm going to starve to death inside of my house because I have no parents. Parents are gone. I'm agoraphobic, and I'm just going to sit here and starve to death.
Okay.
Who I'd bring over is Ryback.
All right.
And I would make him come in and say, feed me more, over and over again. And I'd be like, I'm starving to death. I can't. You'd go, feed me more. And I'd be like, I'm out of food.
So you're also a masochist.
Right. I'm also a masochist. I would try to get him to break character.
Oh, okay.
I want to see Ryback's gentler side.
The gentler side of Ryback?
Yeah.
Would you tell him you were pretending?
No. He would squish me.
Yeah?
Because he'd be like, you're wasting my time. Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
How about you, Steve Sears?
Well, I was going to say I was going to pretend that I was born without legs.
Okay.
So I'm going to wear green socks so they can...
and then green screen it out?
Green screen it out. And then I think I'd ask for John Cena.
Okay.
Because he's a big Make-A-Wish guy.
Yeah.
And I would ask him to give me a piggyback ride around the neighborhood.
Would you also have him wear one of his green Fruity Pebbles shirts so that when he gets in front of the green screen, he's like, my body's gone?
See, well, that's what you were asking. You were like, one of the questions is, would I tell him if I was in fact a Special Olympian or not? Problem is, he wears his green T-shirt, which is like a couple months back.
Yeah.
And he finds out because his torso disappears.
Oh.
So then I've got to come clean and be like, John Cena, I'm sorry. I've got legs, and I pull off my green socks, and he shrieks, and he does a little comedy routine. Ah!
Piggyback ride over.
And then we go over to your house and eat Fruity Pebbles in front of you.
Haha, that's kind of a tragic ending.
It is a kind of tragic ending.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to hurt you like that.
No, I feel like this is like a film festival short that you just wrote.
Yeah, it's way better in Italian.
I believe
way
it.
Better. How's that, Gary? You happy with that, Gary Toner? Don't forget to send your jerk tweets, hashtag jerk tweets, to @CurtainJerks.
Don't forget to send your jerk tweets.
Available at twitter.com is the soon-to-be throttled database where you will only be able to read the tweets of people who could pay for the service.
Or Vine it.
Or Vine it, which, if it isn't going to be censored because the people who couldn't pay for the service.
That's true. Mobile first experience.
Doom and gloom. Sorry. Really
I know.
sorry.
No, I come on this podcast and it immediately stops becoming comedy.
You know what? Scott wasn't here. I didn't have a game plan, so I just started asking about things I wanted to hear about.
No, it's fine. We're having a good convo.
Yeah, real good convo. You can reach us at curtainjerks@gmail.com if you need to send us any of your embarrassing wrestling stories. Scott's reading those emails all the time. He's in the UK right now. I think he's drinking. I said that earlier.
What happened with the action figures, sandwiches, and backyards?
What a classic Curtain Jerks throwback.
I love those. Those are my favorite things that viewers or listeners sent in.
You know what? I liked them too. I think that I was surprised that we even got more than 2 pictures.
Yeah, if they do a snowy edition, take a wrestling action figure, pose it next to a sandwich in a backyard with snow, then I'll retweet it. It's at Phil Ranta, PhilRanta.
Shocking.
Yep.
Shocking. That kind of brings us to the close of this Curtain Jerks. I know it's a little bit weird. Thanks for bearing with us today, guys.
Wait, why is it weird?
What?
We had some real B- wrestling
Yeah,
talk
we had
there.
some real delightful golden nuggets on
Some
this
good
episode.
character bits. It was good.
We didn't have a single guest on this
No,
show.
we didn't have a
You
single
know
the
what
first
happened?
time ever.
I should explain. Scott took everybody with him to the UK.
He did.
So when
Selfish.
When Scott comes back, we're gonna have a few interviews with him. We're gonna have a few interviews with his guests, and we're also gonna interview our staff that he took with.
Can I tease a little something? That
Yeah, if you like.
Scott keeps sending me more wrestlers that he's interviewed.
Yeah, he's got a ton of wrestlers that he's been there.
He's talking to tons of popular wrestlers over there.
Scott is in Europe.
Yeah.
He is wheeling and dealing.
Yeah.
He's doing real well. Well, Phil, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank
today.
you. If you want to hear more of me on a podcast, listen to the Sports podcast on comedypodcastnetwork.com. But seriously, listen to more Curtain Jerks. I enjoy the show.
Oh, good.
I guess they are listening
You're
to
saying
Curtain
it to all the people who are listening to
Yeah,
Curtain Jerks.
download back episodes.
You know what's
They've
gonna be
been
great
fun
is
since
after
episode
this
1.
episode, they're gonna be like, "I'd like to listen to more, as long as they're not talking about the fucking internet."
Hey, you're listening on the internet, interneters.
That's true. This is true. So thank you very much for joining us today.
There, top drug, Steve.
Really appreciate it. And you know what, kids? Hey, enjoy your wrestling. This just in, breaking news. Scott just emailed me at what time this morning? It was 3:17 a.m., probably a much reasonable hour for him. He said that he has got an exclusive interview with Rockstar Spud from Impact Wrestling. So, guys, wring out your drawers. I think it's time to clean everything. Shit, why would I say wring out your drawers? So we've got that exclusive interview for you next week. Also, Scott's going to be able to talk about his experience in the UK across the pond. We'll get some exclusive interviews all across the board. Have a great week. Scott, what a great show today.
One of the best. Always the best.
Great bests.
If you want to get interactive with Curtain Jerks, which I know you do, Steve,
Absolutely. That would be another great best thing to do.
go to facebook.com/Curtain Jerks.
Hey, that's a great place to see photos of you with wrestlers and interact with
stupid.
us. The
I look
hosts.
stupid.
Hey, you look pretty classy.
But yeah, get interactive with us. You can talk with us on there. We post matches, photos, videos, all kinds of stuff.
Is there another way we can interact with our fans?
We can interact with all these jerks at Twitter. Twitter.com/Curtain Jerks.
What a great Twitter handle.
We tweet all the time.
We
love
tweet at
the
breakfast.
tweets.
We do live tweets of shows, live tweets of live events.
I should wake up for breakfast.
Yeah, you should. You could tweet it.
And of course, listening to Curtain Jerks is massively important. Listen to Curtain Jerks on comedypodcastnetwork.com, Stitcher Radio, and iTunes. All free.
Rate and review us on iTunes. Makes a big difference to
That's
us.
huge.
Yeah,
That's huge.
fantastic.
It makes us a global phenomenon.
You have received this transmission from the Comedy Podcast Network. For more shows, visit comedypodcastnetwork.com.